I am Dayna from the Sale Farmhouse, and I am here to share a little bit about what I've been knitting because it's been a while since I've actually shared a project. I've had other videos that I've shared, but I haven't actually shared what I've been knitting. And I realized that I shared a picture of something I was knitting on Instagram the other day, and I had some people who were like, "What are you working on?" And I was like, "Oh, that's right. I have not actually shared any projects lately." So I have one project in particular that I wanted to share with you guys. I meant to make a video a few weeks ago after my original video about why I almost quit my knitting podcast. What happened was, though, I filmed a video, but I filmed it and planned to do a voiceover later because I filmed it while the kids were all in the house and it was pretty noisy in the background. And then I realized that it doesn't feel very authentic because it's not authentic if I film something and then later go back and do a voiceover and try to like match up what my thoughts were while I was knitting. And I thought, you know what? This isn't what I am hoping to share because it doesn't feel like what's really happening, because again, it wasn't really happening. It was like part 2 of me knitting and then like my afterthoughts, and it just didn't really feel like it was, I don't know, authentic. So all that to say, I will share that project that I was working on originally and was going to share eventually. I don't know when. I'll sit down and film another episode, but today I am casting on a Christmas stocking, and I'm in this weird in-between, I'm not sure. I know it's fully fall, and I'm fully embracing fall. As you can see, I have all the pumpkins, and we're doing all the fall events and stuff around here as a family, but my knitting, I'm actually feeling really inspired to work on Christmas stockings because I want them to be ready for Christmas, and I don't want to be waiting last minute until the Christmas season is really here and then I'm like, oh, I wish I had started that sooner. Sorry, my yarn is so tangled from being in its little yarn bowl. So I'm casting on for the Steamer Train stocking, and it's by Ursula Almeida, and she also she goes by She Thinks She Can designs on like Instagram and Ravelry and stuff. So that's what I'm working on. I'm working on a stocking for everybody in my family. Let me see where I put my other needles. Uh-oh, I might have to go find my other. Where did you go? Yep, you know what? Let me pause super fast. I have to go find my other size 2 needles. 1 second. Okay, I found my others. We're a little wonky because one of my size 2 needles actually snapped in half a few months ago, and so I'm working with double pointed, and then I'm using the circular 9-inch needle as a double pointed, and it's really not ideal because I end up with this long dangling piece that as I get working on the stocking gets stuck in the actual knit, or actual stitches, but we do what we can with what we have, so I've just been making it work. And I do have a circular needle set, but it only goes down to size 3 needles, and I need size 2. And this is actually a stocking project that I had started like a year or more than a year ago, and I meant to make them, but I was having so much trouble because I was having the corrugated ribbing up at the top curl like crazy, and I couldn't figure out how to get it not to curl. Turns out, and I added like an I-cord edging, I did all this other stuff, I blocked it, it was not working. So I tore the whole thing out. It sat in timeout for a while, and then I just felt inspired. I was like, these are the ages of my kids where I want them to have these Christmas stockings. So I found out that it was curling because I was using a size 3 needle, because I didn't do anything differently this time other than cast on with a size 2. And so I think it just got too loose and had too much extra fabric, or fiber, I guess. And it was pulling strange. So now I'm casting on the right way. It does call for a size 2 needle. So I'm doing that. Casting on for me with double pointed needles is always not my favorite. If I could only knit with circular needles, that would be ideal, but I don't have that, and so we are doing what we can. So let me set this down a second before I pick it up and show you the first stocking. I just finished it this morning, and this one is for my oldest, and she was so excited. She's been watching me work on it, and of course all my other kids have been watching me work on it also, because they want me to finish whoever's I'm working on so I can get started on theirs. So this is the whole stocking, as much of it as I can show, and I will try to take a higher up picture and insert that and all the stuff, but let me show you the corrugated ribbing up at the top. So this was my first time ever doing corrugated ribbing, and this time I actually really liked it. I have no idea other than it was the needle size was off, but doing it the right way has been really fun and really enjoyable. So that was cool. And then, I don't know, people like to see floats. I'll show you my floats here because I feel like these ones look okay. This is my first time really doing color work this intricate. So I'm not, you know what, whatever. I'm gonna show you it. These are my floats by the gingerbread, and I feel like I had some really long floats. I don't really know how long they're supposed to be. Like this one's a little long, it's starting to curl. But it's the first time doing it, and I'm not worried about it. I also had the idea to possibly line it with fabric inside and just sew it to the top. And I was thinking of doing that anyway, minus the floats, but because I'm imagining there's going to be things in the stocking, we'll say, and I don't want it to stretch it out weird and wonky in certain spots. So I'm thinking I'm going to line the inside. If you've ever made a stocking and lined it, and you have any tips or ideas or like resources, then please let me know, because that's a new one for me. I'm taking on a lot of new things with these stockings here. But I really, really found this enjoyable to knit. It was very fun. What I ended up doing was, for the first, actually I have to look at my notes and see. I think for the first half, yes, the first half, and actually I would have been working this way. The first half of the pattern, I did the name, and then I did the second half of the peppermints, and I just did that for the top. Down here I did the peppermints all the way around, and then I did everything else the same. The toe, you just were doing regular decreases, and then the afterthought heel is the first time I have ever done that. I'm not sure how I like it. I don't know. I usually do a slip stitch heel, and there's nothing wrong with this. I just can imagine if this was a sock, I don't know that I would like it as much. It doesn't, I don't know, but I also was Kitchener stitching. I don't know what the verb of that is, but I was doing the Kitchener stitch across 68 stitches. So that was also another thing. Obviously a foot wouldn't be 68 stitches wide, but yeah, I am really happy with it. Although, if you will notice, some of the snowflakes down here turned out okay, and some of them got a little bit not quite right, but that's okay. I'm gonna go with it, because when it's stuffed full of stuff, it's gonna be fine. And when you have the whole thing out, I don't know. Clara loves it, so I'm okay with it. And I hope that she'll use it for lots and lots of years, and then whenever she wants, she can, I mean, it's always hers, but whenever she wants to take it with her, when she's older and grown, she can take it with her. And she's actually learning how to knit herself. She's 7, and she was saying today, she's like, do you think that I could learn to make this? And then I could, oh, what did she ask? She wanted to make it herself. Oh, you know what? She's so sweet. She asked, do you think I could learn to make these stockings? Because then I can help you finish everyone else's, which was really sweet, because hers is the first one done. And she was so grateful and happy, but she also wants to see everyone else's done, because I also did say, I'm not going to put up just one of your stockings this year. I want all 4 to be done for all 4 kids. or else we'll wait until next year because they're all so excited and I don't want anyone to feel left out. And I'm just working my way down oldest to youngest. And I am also a youngest of 4, so I can understand how little Jimmy would feel if he was the only one who didn't have a stocking this year. So I told him, I was like, I'm working my hardest to get them all done before Christmas, but it's very, 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 very likely that it'll be something that we put up next year. And then if that happens, oh, I just noticed one of these stitches is, that's all right, it's character. Anyway, if I wait until next Christmas, then I will also not just have the 4 kids, but hopefully have me and my husband's, and then we also have one for the dog. So that would be kind of nice to have it presented as something for the family, but they're so excited this year. I wanted to try to have the 4 kids. So the yarn I used is exactly what they said in the pattern. She called for a Knit Picks palette, I think. I don't actually, oh, you know what? I have it. I'm in my sunroom, so I have it actually right back here. Okay. It's palette fingering weight, and let's see. Okay, so this is Aurora Heather, which I think is what's different from the pattern, because I believe this is Bear. Sorry, my dog he heard me open the door. Annie hears cars outside. This, let me see if I have its thing. I want to say this is Pimento, but I'm not confident in that. Let me look at the pattern super fast. I'm sorry, I tried to come prepared. Yes, I believe this is Pimento because I think the only thing I didn't want was gray, and she uses gray in her patterns for where I'm using green. So I don't know, I'll insert a picture if it doesn't show up, but if you want to switch out the gray or actually any of the colors, the palette line has a lot of colors. So Bear, Pimento, and then Aurora Heather. And I wanted it to kind of have like that classic old-timey type Christmas feeling to it. So that is the color palette that I used for this. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I'm on to stocking number 2, and I'm using size 2 needles, not 3, because 3 was wonky. So that is that. Oh, before I go on, like I said, I am somewhere between fall. Well, I'm fully at fall. I feel like I'm fully embracing fall, but I'm trying to not rush through my Christmas knitting and feel the weight of Christmas approaching when it's like the day after Christmas. So that's why I've started that. But I have on some of my fall knits. This has my dog's hair on it, but this is the homebody sweater from Lady J Crochet. It's actually a knitting pattern. I didn't actually put the word homebody across the front like the pattern called for. It felt a little too sweatshirty for me once I actually had it done, and so I wanted to keep it more sweater, like classic sweater. So what I did do was extend the sleeves though, because I don't know if I have long arms, but it went kind of short. So I extended the sleeves, and that is all about that. I used the yarn Grizzly Heather, and it was Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. And I just followed the rest of the pattern. I probably ended up going a little bit long for the length of the sweater, like down my torso, down the body. But I'm also tall, so I needed a little bit more length than most people might. So that's what I'm wearing. And then my sockies. These are the Pumpkin Patch Cabin Socks. And these are the original ones I made. So whatever it says on the pattern page, which I will link, is what I used, because I want to say it was Apple Oaks FibreWorks brand, but they don't actually keep this yarn anymore. So yeah, I'll put the info for that if you're interested. That's what I'm wearing today. And I'm knitting in my cozy sunroom. And all the kiddos are out with Daddy, checking out the fall colors. And I am trying to get cast on for Natalie's stocking. So I'm going to do a quick count of stitches and see where I'm at and how many more I need to do. casting on is where being a daydreamer is dangerous because I just start going, especially with the long tail cast on, and I just start. Suddenly you're like 40 stitches past what you need. Oops. Oh, goodness. Okay, so I believe I'm right where I need to be. And I think I'm just going to even this out as I go. The other thing about these double pointed needles is that they're short. So for this pattern, I almost want, with this size needle, I almost would want either longer double pointed needles, or I guess I'm using what I have, but if you are going to do this and you have the option, I would recommend longer double pointed needles or more, like one more of these, because once I get going with the actual, and especially into the stockinette color work, the stitches end up being too many to hold onto all of these needles. So that's just one thought to think of. I wish there was a way on YouTube to like share back and forth, like I'll share what I'm knitting and then you share what you're knitting back to me, but that's what Instagram is for. So if you're knitting along with me, then, and you want to, sorry, I've got a massive tail here. If you're knitting along and you want to show me what you're working on while we're kind of sitting and knitting together, then send me a picture over on Instagram. I'll either see it in my messages or if you post it, I will see that as well. I'm sorry, I'm so... oh, I should have gotten this set up before, but like I said, I just got the other one off my needles today and I was like, I have to start Natalie's. And when my husband said they were gonna go do their thing, I was like, I can sit down and check in with you guys and knit. So once I get this attached, I'm hoping this will go more smoothly. I swear I knit a lot. I'm not a new knitter. Do you ever feel like that sometimes you're at a part in a project or you take your knitting out somewhere and you're a little more distracted than normal and you're knitting and you just keep fumbling and you're like, oh my goodness. If anyone here is a knitter, they're probably like, oh, why are you taking your knitting out when you can't focus on it? And that's okay though. I mean, not to say I don't care about other people. I just don't, I know what I don't know how to say that. I feel confident in my knitting. It's just, this is like knitting bloopers at the moment. There we go. Okay. I feel confident in my knitting. Like I don't need to prove it to anyone. I'm just trying to get set up. Remember, this is the second time in my life that I've successfully, hopefully successfully, tried setting up the corrugated ribbing. And so, you know what? And that's just how it's gonna be. Okay, so I think we're set. So the other thing I noticed with corrugated ribbing and color work in general is that I need to change my knitting style. And I just said I knit, I know how I knit for me and I'm okay with that. But for efficiency's sake, I knit, what is this called? English, I knit English style. And I only throw the yarn, which is tricky when you're doing color work, I've noticed. And I did do a couple rows on Clara's stocking where I used this finger and it wasn't pretty. Let's just say it wasn't pretty. So I have some practice to do on that, but I do see the benefit in doing that. I don't know if I would knit that way all the time. Do you knit, is that called continental? Do you knit continental or English style? I think it would be beneficial to know how to do both and not just one or the other. And then you can interchange it between what kinds of things you're knitting or not. But anyway, that was just one thing I noticed for me and my own personal, I guess, knitting growth is that I would like to learn how to knit without throwing the yarn so that this kind of thing becomes easier. Because I was not really much of a color knitter before, a color work knitter. Well, actually color too. I don't use a ton of colors. These socks are pretty much as colorful as I wear at the moment. But I really like some sweaters I saw online. I don't know. I think these particular sweaters were like not handmade sweaters, but they were really cute. They were the kind of sweaters that's kind of, it's color work and it makes really cute pictures. They had different ones for Halloween, so different kinds of pumpkins and stuff, where the yoke up at the top of the sweater is actually different pictures. And I thought that in like really cool earthy, rustic, tweedy colors and heather colors would be really pretty to learn how to make. But yeah, before I really never thought much about color work. I did a couple hats here and there with chunky yarn when I first started knitting, but nothing really intricate. And now that I've done these stockings, it's so fun. I understand it now. So that would be a good thing to learn how to do it the correct way, which I guess kind of just cruising along and figuring out what works and what doesn't is the best first way of learning, as I almost drop a stitch. That is all of the check-in that I have to share today. I don't want to just ramble on. I do ramble, I know I ramble, but I don't want to take up more of your valuable time and your listening ability and what all can fit in your brain at the same time, because sometimes I feel like some people just talk to fill the space and I don't want to do that. So I am going to keep working on this project, and I'm very thankful that you sat down and knit with me, even though today's knitting wasn't 100% easy. I'm not gonna lie, that was tricky to get started, but I also want to be authentic, like I said, and sometimes projects need to be kind of wrestled with as you begin them or work your way through them. And as long as you're still finding the joy in making them, then that's okay. I mean, if you're pushing through because you're like, well, I feel like I have to make this, I'm putting this pressure on myself, and it's no longer enjoyable and you no longer are even wanting to finish the thing you're working on, then I would say put it away, retire the project. But I'm going to wrestle around a little bit more with this and hop on to another episode hopefully in the next coming weeks. I have a couple other things that I've been slowly knitting away on, and so thank you guys for coming on, hanging out and knitting with me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, your week, and your fall.